So it's like, which one would you want to memorize? Chewing or that freaking big run-on sentence? I'd rather do a chewing. Okay. But again, this one is more detailed, but you don't have to know that in depth. So the only thing that I would add is where in the brain those nerves originate. So we did this through lecture as we went through the different parts, the medulla and everything, what cranial nerves pop out, but I also wrote it up on the board. So coming from the medulla, we've got vestibulocochlear 8, the cochlear branch, the hearing branch, glossopharyngeal 9, vagus 10, accessory 11, because you're going to have accessories of the vagus, and then hypoglossal 12. Coming from the pons, we're going to have the trigeminal 5, abducens 6, facial 7, and vestibulocochlear 8, the vestibular, the balance and equilibrium branch. From the midbrain, we're going to have ocular motor 3 and trochlear 4. Coming off of the optic chiasma, we have optic nerve 1. And coming off of the olfactory bulbs, we would have the olfactory nerve 1. Okay, so name, number, what part of the brain they pop out of, the function, and of course for lab, we can identify them on the model. Okay, so we can point to them on the brain model. So that's what figure 17.9 shows you, is those nerves that we'll be pointing to. Figure 17.10, honestly, I think they just have a photograph quota, because there's like no logical reason to have that picture. They don't even label that picture very well. It's like, yeah, just throw a picture. So nobody really cares about that one. Figure 17.11 shows you the sheep brain. We will look at the sheep brain tomorrow. So that's when we're going to do the sheep brain dissection. And by dissection, we're going to put it on the tray and point to it. So we will break that guy out. Since we're not going to look at the sheep brain until tomorrow, the sheep brain will be on the practical, but it's not going to be on the bonus quiz, because our bonus quiz is tomorrow, and it'd be kind of unfair to ask you on a quiz which you just saw 5 seconds beforehand. So on the bonus quiz tomorrow, it'll just be over the brain model and the plexiglass stuff, where the sheep brain will also be on the practical. Okay. Now with the sheep brain, I'm not going to make you point to the cranial nerves. So we only care about the cranial nerves for people. We don't care about the cranial nerves for the sheep. So when looking at figure 17.11, everything with a Roman numeral beside it, you can cross out, because we'll do that on the human brain, not on the sheep brain. Figure 17.12 is basically making the brain bend over and touch its toes. So we'll do that. You can cross out pineal gland. Nobody likes that guy. Figure 17.13. So the picture in your book doesn't label everything you need to know. There's a handout online for the sheep brain that has more stuff. For me, I would rather have a picture that has more things and we cross them out, instead of a picture that has less things and we have to write in a whole bunch of junk. Okay, so that's why the handout's online, because it gives us more information. So print that out, bring it tomorrow, and when we look at the sheep brain, we'll cross out the stuff we don't have to know, and you're essentially combining that picture and this picture for what we need to know on the half a sheep brain. Figure 17.14, we're not going to slice our brains to look like that, so you can ignore that picture. Questions about exercise 17? Okay, and again, we're completely skipping exercise 18, all the even chapters we're not dealing with, so you can ignore 18. Now looking at our anatomage dude, so good old Victor and his nervous system. So when we look at our brains, there he is super close up. So of course we can see the cerebrum, and we have the wrinkles of the cerebrum. That's the gyrus. Gyrus is single, gyri is plural. It's weird Latin where I is plural and us is single. Right? I don't care if you use plural or singular, whatever makes you happy. So each of the wrinkles are the gyri. The little dents, again, are the sulci. And then we have some characteristic ones. This guy right here is the central sulcus. In front of the central sulcus, we're going to have the precentral gyrus. Behind the central sulcus, we're going to have the postcentral gyrus. This big dent right here is the lateral sulcus. It's going to separate the temporal lobe from the rest of the guys. So we have our frontal lobe here. We have our parietal lobe right here. We have our occipital lobe and temporal lobe, so all parts of the cerebrum. We can see the cerebellum, our second largest part of the brain, and the wrinkles again are the fovea. And you can see the medulla peeking out underneath here. Back shot of the brain. So still the cerebrum. We've got the gyri, we've got the sulci, the little dents. This is the occipital lobe, of course, parietal lobe, temporal lobe. This is our longitudinal fissure that will separate the two sides of the cerebrum. We have the cerebellum, and the wrinkles again are the fovea of the cerebellum, and right up the middle is going to be the vermis. And then we've got our medulla oblongata. As we slice through it, again, a bad aim, so you couldn't see everything perfectly like the pictures. But of course, we've got the cerebrum, we've got the gyri, the sulci, or the little dents. We see our corpus callosum that joins the two sides of the cerebrum, and we're going to have a little kickback that's going to have the fornix. We have the thalamus and we have the hypothalamus. We can see the cerebellum with its fovea, and there's the arbor vitae, or tree of life. It's more like cauliflower, but close enough. We've got the medulla, we've got the pons, we've got the cerebral peduncle. Spaces, we can see a little bit of the lateral ventricle poking out. We've got the third ventricle around the thalamus. We've got the cerebral aqueduct, kind of crosses over onto the side. Then we've got our fourth ventricle, and from the fourth ventricle, we go through the foramen magnum into the central canal of the spinal cord. Here we've taken a top shot, so again we can see the gray matter, the white matter. We can see a little bit of the basal nuclei. Here we have the septum placidum that separates the lateral ventricles from each other, so you can see the spaces of the lateral ventricles on either side. And here's a little bit of the corpus callosum where it's touched in front. The other way it's sliced, you can't see the rest of it because it comes up. Here's that cross section again, just showing you with the entire spinal cord somewhat there. But again, we've got the cerebrum, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, corpus callosum, the fornix kicking back, the thalamus, the medulla oblongata, the pons, the cerebral peduncle. Spaces, we're going to have a little bit of the lateral ventricle visible. We've got the third ventricle around the thalamus, the cerebral aqueduct, the fourth ventricle through the foramen magnum into what would be the central canal of the spinal cord, which we can kind of spotty see there on that. Our cerebellum with our arbor vitae, our tree of life, and our fovea, which are the little wrinkles. Looking at the cranial nerves, again, it's a little awkward to see them. Many of them are teeny tiny, so even when they're colored, they're hard to see, but some of them are kind of obvious. So our first ones are the olfactory nerves, so they've colored them neon green for your viewing pleasure. So they're going to join directly to the olfactory bulb and run down the olfactory tract. Our second ones are optic nerve 2 for vision, so you can see it coming into the optic chiasma right there. We have our ocular motor nerve, moves your eyeball. And then right next to it, you're going to have the trochlear nerve 4, which unfortunately they didn't color very well, but it pops out right next to it. So you can see ocular motor, and then trochlea is going to be right next to it. So you can kind of see it there. Then we've got our trigeminal 5, it's a thicker nerve, so it's easier to see. And then you're going to have your abducens 6, so it's the barely there orange lines. Okay. Or didn't you see? Abducens comes from the middle of the pons area, so you can see them a little bit better over here. We've got facial 7, and then vestibular cochlear 8. So they're going to be right next to each other. So you can see you're going to have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. They're just going to make a row of those little guys. So there is your glossopharyngeal 9. Red guy. Then you've got vagus, baby. So vagus 10 is going to pop out and go all the way down to your organs. Vagus is the only nerve that, cranial nerve that is fatal if you sever it. So if you sever your vagus nerve, you can't control your heart rate, you can't control your blood pressure, your digestive system, everything goes out the window. So you can't survive without your vagus nerve. And then right next to vagus, you have the accessory nerves. Okay, so vagus and the accessory right next to each other. And then you've got your hypoglossal 12. Hypoglossal comes from the middle of the medulla instead of the edges of it. So you can see them 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, back over to 12. Okay. Questions about the do? I know, don't be so excited. So the rest of the day is yours to become one with the brains. Now there's lots of brain models. I like the squishy brain. It's pretty and it's fun. It's squishy. The other one's kind of ugly. So we've got the brain model and we've got the two plexiglass assistants to show us the parts when we slice through. Take that here, question. This is what you're going to have on your bonus quiz tomorrow. And then tomorrow, there's a couple of videos we're going to watch showing brain stuff. And then we'll look at the sheep brain, and then we'll have more time to study the brain models and stuff for the bonus quiz. Yep, it's mobile. You just have to share. Don't forget, if you're going to do this cervical records, do your day. Or bonus points up to 10 on your next lowest test grade. And don't forget about your concept checks. I believe everybody still has concept checks that are out there. So this is an opportunity to hopefully raise your grade, improve your grade. That also includes the two assignments for the common assessment. So one of them is just the Dropbox, and the other one is a quiz that goes along with that Dropbox. So make sure you get those done before next week. That's when they're all due. I don't know, 8-week classes, no rest. Depends on if you get to leave AC, because if not, you'll be taking a whole lot more. Okay.